The whole Liam Kumar Day effect, not really happened.
Nigel couldn't make it.
Yeah.
I rang up Mendenhall, he said he could make it.
Don't dig this hole. Phil, credit to the guy, he always manages to do well what he has, but he is a shocking personality. You guys got a trophy? No.
It was pre-event.
No, my life from Rashad Mendenhall.
Right, you go. I'm a tag, Jack! I'm a fucking tag!
And you will never not be a tank. Phil, welcome to another episode of the LOC Report. I say another. It's been quite the gap since our last one, which was way back in January time. The co-host is here again. So we're obviously slightly more tan than before as well. How's it going?
Slightly, I was going to say, it's coming out of the darkness. Yeah, very well. This really has been a long time. It's been, was it now 6.5 months?
Yeah.
So it's more than half a year without broadcasting to you all. Yeah. But then again, nothing has really happened in half a year.
Not in the LOC, other than one thing which we'll obviously cover on this episode today. But lots of other stuff in the world. Obviously.
Yes, that's
much
true.
change. You are married.
I am now.
We have another LOC baby. Congratulations again, Ollie Gardner Meadows.
Yeah.
Boris is gone.
It's true. That's it. Corona's over.
Kind of.
Well, it's still here, but people don't really care about it as much. And yeah, I mean, it feels like the first normal summer for such a long time.
Yeah.
You know, I say it for such a long time, for 3 years, which actually isn't that long. If you said something to my, said something to the generation of our grandparents, that's it. Oh, 6 years of war and 15 years of rationing. That's it. And then it was over. True. That's it. Well,
it's true.
I mean, there's the shit's about to hit the fan. Quite quite convincingly. It's beginning to happen.
Yes, it is. But the NFL season's not too long off as well, because it's only the first preseason game. I think is 2 or 3 weeks away.
Exactly. So that's why we're here, to brighten your days. Because in these days when you can't turn your lights on and you've got to ration your gas. And I'm speaking to you from the past. If you're looking at this in 6 months in the future and going, Chris, you're dead right.
Or
I'm looking at myself going, so buy a few more jumpers, mate. Then you'll be all right. Yeah. But hey, look, NFL season's about to begin.
It is.
It's all good.
We'll just first episode really of the 2022 LOC season as well. So we'll kick off as we always do with some league news. So there is a few articles we have in the news section. So we now do have a confirmed date for the division lining event and the draft. Time still to be fully allocated. I think the division lining event's kind of booked 3:30 or something, if memory serves.
Yeah.
We were originally planning on doing the draft before, however, it sounds like we'll have a church football friendly now, so we might have to get creative with the timings. Might have to be an evening draft, so all that stuff's to be cleared up.
I like an Saturday evening draft. Can you imagine a city go and do your division lining event, you come and do your draft in the evening on a Saturday night? It's a bit of an occasion, I think that makes more sense, don't you? Yeah,
absolutely, because that's the order we usually do things anyway, div lining and then draft. So so we've got that to look forward to. So I think Viv has booked it for 9 people based on the people that said they could come will probably come, but obviously if someone can't, we'll have a stand-in. But do block out that Saturday, 20th of August. This is going to be a bumper day. I didn't mention in the AGM about subs, which I completely forgot, but subs will be £3 again, same as last year. So obviously the same will go with that. If I don't have your subs by the time you're on the draft clock, you get no draft picks until I have that money. So in your interest to pay me subs, I will obviously post up.
It really is.
You can do that, and then the other ones, so we're a bit late on the Hall of Fame nominees, but we have slightly changed the process, so that's no bother, because obviously before, actually I'll come back to all of this in the AGM recap bit in a bit, but basically the deadline for your nominations is going to be the 29th of July at 8 PM, so you've got just under a couple of weeks to nominate something if you want to. You don't have to nominate something, just if you want to, and then from there, as I say, we'll come back to a bit later and I'll explain how the rest of that will work, but we will get straight into the main thing, and I realised you've got this lovely picture of just cascaded stuff on this side, so let's move that over there, put this over here, because we've got a Corona Bowl to recap, and here it is. Ixan took on the Dream Team to duke it out for Corona Bowl 13. Ixan seeking their second Corona Bowl win in their, I believe, fifth or fourth Corona Bowl appearance. Meanwhile, the Dream Team are back at the plate again, trying to win the title that has always evaded them, just slipped through their grasp. But that no more, because the Dream Team have finally done it. They've climbed the mountain. They've won Corona Bowl 13 by a score of 108-78. Looking down the lineups, Justin Herbert, who's obviously was a star for all of the 2021 season, pitched in a solid 22 points. Austin Eckler as well, coming back from that mid-season injury, posting a nice 17. But Jamar Chase, really the revelation of this Dream Team side all season long, coming up with the big bucks when it matters most. 45 points, 266 yards and 3 touchdowns. Decidedly what won this one for the Dream Team is they had quite a lot of falters in Denver's Williams, Javonte Williams. He only got 3, Tyreek Hill got 4, Matt Gay, the kicker, only got 2 as well, en route to that 108. On the other side, Ixan are going to be feeling in some ways hard done by. It's hard to play against someone who's got 45 points, but equally they didn't have a massive day either. Josh Allen had 21 points, which was a bit of a modest total for him. Damian Harris had 17 points. Justin Tucker, the kicker, coming in with 15. But then you see Ronald Jones only 3 points there, and nobody else over 7 points other than Mark Andrews, who got 9. So disappointing day there for Ixan. The Dream Team does take it though. They are Corona Bowl 13 champions.
Yes, they are.
It was an entertaining Corona Bowl, albeit one of the more lower scoring ones.
Yeah,
but
I think you're right. And Ben came into this game, was very hot. He'd beaten me by a considerable amount the previous week. I mean, his team had gone off. Came into this game, and yeah, it just sort of went flat for him. But here's why. I think because the Bengals were on a roll at the time. It was going to one receiver or the other, whether it be Chase or Higgins. So the week previously went to both of them because they went nuts. But this time it was just Chase in that shootout win.
Yeah.
And yeah, it cemented his place as a firm number one receiver in the NFL. If you weren't in any doubt before. Yeah, this is the thing that Viv had kind of like eaten out all year, was every single week, by and large, he would be able to put together a decent score. For the first time in a long time, he didn't have players that would just fall down at the last. Here, I can't really say that that's the case, because aside from that 44 points, which is obviously significant, Eckler and Herbert have combined, and everyone else has kind of thrown a bit of a dud. But that can be exactly the same for Ben on the other side, is that these teams are pretty well matched, aside from that excellence of one player. And yeah, Ben's skill positions all year were always a bit of a matter of debate whether or not they were really good enough to be able to sustain a run like this to the final. And yeah, and in the end, it turns out that we were dead right, and they weren't. There wasn't a great deal else you could really do there. Obviously, we weren't going to play Cooks or Wale at all. So and
it would have made a difference if we played all 3 of those.
Exactly
players,
that. So nothing that Ben could do. Well beaten in the end, and great for Viv, because as we were saying, he was one of those guys that sort of always.
Bridesmaid, never the bride.
Exactly,
is a very apt term.
Bridesmaid, never the bride. Yeah. And yeah, it's his time.
Yep.
Finally.
Yep. Finally. So he will look forward to getting the trophy. Hilariously, we were around Ross's all together a few weeks ago. He could have taken the trophy then, because Ross still has the trophy.
Yes, of course.
And he declined and would rather have it presented to him at the draft. So
understandably so.
Yeah. Well, you only get that Stubbs trophy for a year. So
that's true.
I would say have it while you can, because that one doesn't stick around. These ones do, obviously.
Yeah, the one where you take home and come back again, year on year. I totally agree with that one. So yeah. Hey, look, I'm so thrilled for Viv that he's finally done
nice
it.
To see,
And for many years it had that. I don't know if it was necessarily warranted or not, but it was a bit of a choker.
Yeah, it was always the case that he would have a very good start of the season, regular season, then just kind of about week 10, 11, that kind of time, starts to kind of fall back a bit, being obviously where the waivers are now, where it's a bit more parity, you can kind of support yourself a bit better as as one of the good teams. Whereas back in the days, obviously of reverse order, it was very hard to boost your team if something went wrong, and that's, to be fair to Viv, probably what happened more often than not. But like, as you say, as a good team, you're on that like true position where you've got to be a bit smarter and everything. So there is that element maybe as well that he wasn't as good, managing a front runner, right? Where he couldn't obviously get the high picks, but could not then identify the other guys to fill the gaps. But obviously, this time round it all went right for him. I think there was that little blip there, but then he kind of came back up again and saw it through to the end. Which, as you say, hasn't been the case for him before. So very, very well done to you, Viv. Looking at the regular season, so these are the standings. So for at the moment, you and my dad stand atop the all-time winners with 101 apiece. Just going back to the Corona, actually, I picked Viv for the Corona Bowl. You picked Ben. So
I did.
You're still ahead, obviously, in the pick, and when we weren't having locks for the Corona Bowl because there was only the one game. But a good start by you. So it'll be fun to see how that goes next season.
Yeah, totally.
And then I closed the accolades here, but we don't need the accolades actually. So I think that was Ben's third or fourth loss in the Corona Bowl, but obviously he's already got a big one to himself as well, so that's okay. That's Corona Bowl 13. Congratulations, Viv. We will go on to the LOC Awards now, as we didn't reveal those. As we were waiting to do that in the final episode of the season as well. So for Coach of the Year, we had nominated Coach Leach, Nathwani, Sherwood and Allen. And the Coach of the Year was Coach Nathwani. He did have that 12-2 season, a great year all around, good draft as well. Massively helped by Chris, so some plaudits to Chris.
You make your own luck. I think so he had to listen to me. So.
Sure, exactly. Yeah, you had to have the managerial sense to listen to. GM of the Year, we have with myself, Coach Bidette, Coach Leach, and Coach Sherwood, and it is you taking away the GM of the Year award this year, Chris. You had a really good draft, some key free agent additions as you normally do. So run a good team top to bottom, so that one's yours.
Thank you, I'm feeling good about that.
Good. The Luck Award goes, we had nominated Coach Nunn, Coach Henderson, Coach Stubbs Jr. and Coach Taylor, and the winner is Coach Nunn. Of course, again, he was on auto draft, one of the worst auto draft teams from him that we've seen in the last few years. He also didn't have a lot of points on the bench. Obviously, we know he doesn't do a lot of management, that laissez-faire style, but he still ultimately had an okay season despite all of that stuff.
Yes.
Feels pretty lucky to me. So
always back to where he belongs in the Luck Award this year.
Exactly. Comeback Award, we have Coach Henderson, Coach Sherwood, again, Coach Stubbs Jr., myself, and Coach Nathwani, so it probably helps with this one to give some context. So Coach Henderson started 1-6 in the season, that famously bad start where he was wondering if he'd ever get a win, but then he went 7-1 after that, and actually made the playoffs, didn't he? I think
exactly.
It's crazy. Coach Sherwood came back to the playoffs. We've been missing it for the first year in 7 years. They went 7-2 after starting 2-3. I had my best record since 2016, and obviously came within a whisker of playoffs myself. And Coach Nathwani obviously made their return to the playoffs as well, and ultimately won it. But it does go to Coach Henderson, coming back from that 1-6 to make 7-1. That is, I think, the best turnaround we've ever seen.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Almost. I remember Ollie won one year. Actually, won the Corona Bowl one year, where he was about I think he was 2-6, and then came back out of nowhere. But that's pretty good. In fact,
I think what was it? I went 3-5 in 2010 and came back and won it, and then Tom had to one up me, and I think I can't remember if it was his 2011 season or the next one, but he went 2-5, turned it around and came back. So it does happen from time.
It's pretty wild. I mean, bearing in mind that he was on an absolute steamroller for the last 4 or 5 weeks of the season. So I really want to see what Dave Henderson can do do this year. I don't think he's a wild card anymore. I think he's proven with that finish that whatever he had planned at the beginning of the season.
Well, I think that this year his draft plans will not involve a Paw Patrol Etch-a-Sketch either. Which
that's good.
Was one of the highlights of draft day for me personally.
But, never seen that before.
No, we've had Phil and the Cafe Nero, but not the Paw Patrol Etch-a-Sketch. So, so there's that. Then we've got the Overachiever Awards. So myself nominated for that one again. Coach Taylor, Coach Fredette, and Coach Sub Senior. So I was nominated as I didn't have a quarterback all season long, as we well remember, and only actually got 20 points out of my quarterback 3 times, but obviously still nearly made the playoffs. Coach Taylor, again, he also didn't really have a playoff all season long. But he maximised the team and had a low amount of points left on the bench. Coach Bidette, obviously we know, didn't have a great starting roster and lost a lot of players. It was quite comical the way that roster ended up. But he still got to 5-9. And then my dad, he barely used his FA, which is uncommon for my dad.
Very.
Not to mention holding Adrian Peterson for 2 months, and this was when Adrian Peterson was not on the team.
Indeed. And even when Adrian Peterson wasn't on a team, wasn't worth having.
No, yeah, exactly. And I won that one, so obviously I'm having no quarterback, which is quite difficult to do, and still nearly making playoffs. That's like playing with one hand tied behind your back. So that one goes to me. And then the League Commissioners Award, we have Chris, obviously nominated again for another stellar year of podcasting and being the lead ombudsman. Tom for the power rankings, and E.Locker, as he always provides those articles that we love. And he actually, I think, did one every week last season for the first time. So definitely well done to Tom. Yeah, indeed. Ollie Ganabedos, he had a rough year, but never gave up, kept going. And then we have team executive Phil, obviously our first team executive in the LOC last season. He performed admirably in his supporting role for Gridiron Gang, my team, and then he also, as always, provides some entertainment there in the group chat. And the award does go to Phil for this one as the first team executive. Groundbreaking. You and Tom have had your fair share of this award over the years, so I think Phil justifiably earned this one this time around. So those are your
Good for you, Phil.
awards. What do you make of the awards?
I think that's the first thing Phil's won in a long time, isn't it?
We can check the accolades. Let's take.
Good for you, Phil. That's it.
Yeah,
That's good.
You know what? I think I didn't jot. Annoyingly, I didn't. No, that's the wrong file. I didn't jot down the awards for 2020 season, but I think Phil did win something that year. Did I find something on my phone? I'm pretty sure I did. So
well, I mean, even so, it's the first award for anyone who's been in a different time zone.
He won the comeback award.
Comeback award.
In 2020.
There you go. So, but I mean, if he comes back again, I mean, it'd definitely be the surefire one to first person to come back and unretire from a foreign land.
Yes, yeah, no one has ever done that before. Yeah,
so there you are. But no, I think that's probably fair enough.
Yep.
And yeah, Caps. What was another entertaining
it was a great
season?
Yeah,
another entertaining season. Very close once again, which we all like. And there wasn't that many teams that fell off the bottom.
No.
Some people was, I'd say that Ollie's team, Ollie Gardner-Bellows' team, fell off the bottom because it was just poorly drafted to begin with. But that's it. If you don't turn up, that's what you get. So
Yep.
And you've got to make sure that if you're going to auto draft, you got to either keep yourself an open mind, or just turn up.
Yep.
And that's the key thing. Just turn up, which we're coming on to next.
Yes. Yeah. So speaking as you said with the draft. So 20th of August. We've already said that. We typically do the draft order reveal around the NFL draft time. Didn't this year. I think it was because I wasn't feeling too well at that time, and then obviously loads of other stuff was. We're busy adults now. Yeah. It happens. So, we've got the draft reel right now. So, as you can see, we're going to use the same thing we did last year. We've got our individual races on the left there. We're going to go through. We're going to do some shuffle this order up 3 times. Why not? Oh, let's go for 4 for good luck. And then we're not going to weight anything here, obviously. You can see everything is weighted. As it should be. We have no influence on this whatsoever. What should we go with? Seconds per rush? I don't know. Are we happy with?
That's it. I mean, this
default settings.
This must be what we had last year. So
do we want the normal speed? It went on a bit last year, or do we want a bit of a quicker pace?
All I can say is that this was a highlight of some people's years.
We're going to go with the normal then, because we want the absolute drama that we possibly can. So here we go. We are starting the draft order race to reveal the draft order. Obviously, is going to be straight 1 to 12. Whoever gets across the line first, it gets them 1 draft pick. Oh, and Ross makes a great start, and then whoever finishes last obviously gets the last draft pick. Ross, not happy with the auto draft last year. He's like, right, sod it, I'm getting a good auto draft this year. But some people have caught him up. Dad has overtaken him. Pat's overtaken him now. It's a pretty. It's like a 4-fold race at the front.
Viv
there.
Can't be bothered at the back.
Viv is like, I got my championship. I'm out of here. Who cares? I can't be bothered. It's hot today. The field is catching up. Really, look, everyone up the top there,
ahead
all the way down. But Ollie and Tom really going for that. Ollie using those hockey lungs he's got there to. Really try and get that first overall pick. Meanwhile, Tom takes a few steps with his size, and he needs to really take a few to take the lead.
Money's on Tom or Dave here, isn't it?
But which is quite impressive from the 57, 56, 57.
He's doing well, that's what I can say.
Tom is closing in, it seems, though, on the first overall pick. though. Ollie Bedette's trying to give him a bit of pressure there.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
Ollie
don't know,
Bedette's making a last gasp.
Photo finish.
Yeah, we've got a 3-horse race for the first overall pick, but I think it is going to be Tom. Tom does get the first overall pick. Is he across the line? We'll know. Yes, he is. Oh, Ollie comes in though. Does Ollie Gardner Beddoes get second? No, not quite. In fact, my dad gets second. Ollie Bedette, who was kind of stringing along there, gets third. Ollie GB dashes in for fourth, ahead of no one really. Ben comes in at fifth. I've stumbled in seventh there. Ross auto draft right in the middle at number 6. You'll have to see it. Oh. Pat comes in at 8. Viv, Chris, I haven't called your name at all here. You're just making your nice
I'm waiting
way.
for Viv, I think.
Yeah, so it's a real slow horse race. Dave Henderson gets 9th, then Mike gets 10th. And yeah, I think Chris, you're just gonna sneak it for 11. You have indeed. And then Viv really doesn't care. Clearly, he wants that 12th overall pick.
Wow, there we go.
That is your draft order. So yeah, Tom is at the top there. The first overall draft pick. Let's see the last time if I got the accolades open or the draft order here somewhere.
I love that. That's brilliant. I mean, the suspense is real.
So I haven't dropped in last year's draft positions, so we'll just compare. So Tom has only drafted first once, way back in 2010. So a long time since.
Wow.
And Tom hasn't actually been higher than third, and that was in 2017. Other than that, so rare territory for him. My dad's there in second. We've got Ollie Bedette there in third. I think he'll probably like being at the top there. Ben's probably going to be quite happy with.
I think he'll find that pretty good for him. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's got no Nathwani rule to shoot himself in the foot this year.
He does not.
I think, and just going back to Nathwani rule, actually, I meant to check. Was it? It was you, I think. Yeah. So you have the Nathwani rule. So obviously you are in pick 11. So yeah, you are very at liberty to do whatever you want with that. So you are absolutely not tied into that. But that's where you sit at the moment, of course.
Absolutely.
We've got the middle section, as I said, Ross with the auto draft. That's probably a generous position to be for an auto draft, I would say. Myself in 7th there, Pat in 8th. Dave Henderson 9th, and then yeah, Viv right at the back there. Let's see where Viv has drafted historically as well. So where is the dream team on here? There it is. So Viv has never drafted 12th before. I don't actually think he's ever. It doesn't look like he's ever drafted at the back of the order, because even I think we made the switch to 12 teams in 2015 or so. So yeah, that's the furthest back Viv's ever drafted.
I'm pretty sure that's the furthest back I've ever drafted as well.
Yeah, so you're in 11th.
Almost
so let's take yeah. So obviously in the olden days, 8th would have been further back than it is now. But as you say, you've never been even second to last in the draft order, so it's a rare position for you, but obviously you can certainly change that if you don't like it. So.
Wow, yeah. So I don't know. I have to say, I quite like the challenge of being there. I was thinking this the other day. Like, I've never been there, so
sure.
Why not give it?
There you go. So
I'll be mocking like crazy now to see what.
Indeed, yeah, you can get your mocks underway now, which, to be fair, most people wouldn't have done before this point anyway. No. So, what do you make of the draft order?
I love that.
Yeah.
It's what a great way of doing it, and it does shake it up, because you're right. The guys, there are some people who have been there or thereabouts most years in terms of the top 4 or 5, but actually, those guys are from the stats and from memory, really. Haven't been there, so it's nice to get some different perspective there.
Yeah.
I mean. Yeah, I think anywhere up to about 6th or 7th, you're okay with. Being mid pack is okay.
That's when, once you go beyond that and you don't get that top tier.
That's right.
You've kind of got to get everything right, otherwise your team kind of falls a bit weakly.
Yes.
Or if you get one of those wrong, it can be disastrous, obviously.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, exactly. You've got to go. I mean, think anyone from sort of in the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, who doesn't get one of those first round running backs. Yeah, you've got to seriously consider how you're going to build your team. But the great thing with the system that we've got is that it's not that bad. Is that if you want to take 4 receivers in the first 4 rounds, you absolutely can, and that's the beauty of it. Which
brings us on nicely to the AGM, actually, because the episode's been fairly short so far, so we'll do the AGM recap today as well. Starting off the top in the AGM, so I think we only had 6 or 7 people in the end. I can't remember. We've joined a bit later on. I think that maybe just got us over 7, but a lower attendance AGM than normal. That's fine. It's obviously all still democratic among the people who take part. So the first thing we did is we talked again about PPR and whether to do that. No vote was even taken on that. We obviously discussed that and voted on that in years past. So no vote taken on that due to obviously the continued lack of feeling to want to go towards it. It may come back once, someday, but I think that'll put the PPR issue to bed for some years at least.
So.
But then we did discuss the Superflex format that you just kind of mentioned. Is just say, well, obviously our league is very unique in the sense of you can do quite a bit of flexibility within the 5 skill positions we have. So we did look at changing the 2 wide receiver running back flexes to be at the tight end onto that as well. And that did actually pass. So basically the roster configuration now is there is 3 wide receiver running back tight end flexes and then 2 wide receiver tight end ones. What does this mean in practical terms? Basically, before you could only play a max of 3 tight ends. Now you can play up to 5 if you want to.
Yeah, I mean, and I hope someone does it.
I mean, some of the auto drafted teams last year, and Ben obviously drafted, I think, 3 tight ends. I think Ross might have actually had 4 tight ends, all in all. So, why not? Why not?
I mean, it's one way of being able to play. Like, if you think about it, though, I mean, this year, like legit, you could play Kelsey and Mark Andrews and Waller, and I don't know.
Well, Pat Frymouth.
You can play Frymouth. Dawson Knox was a bit of a touchdown merchant last year. So look, I think Gesicki.
Yeah, Gesicki. Darryl Schultz
legit.
had a good season as
So
well.
there's some legit tight ends out there. So I mean, don't shirk on tight ends.
No, absolutely not. They can be a useful part of your team, and we'll see if anyone does deploy a very tight end heavy lineup. We also took a look at the playoff system. Obviously, last year was the first year that was enacted. We voted to bring it in a couple of years ago, but gave it like a year's grace, obviously, until the NFL expanded their schedule. We decided to keep it as it is, and again, with this one, we're not going to review it unless there's sort of like a motion to do so. It definitely added something to the playoffs, I think, having that kind of flex, that wild card bowl in that first week, and albeit Pat was not one of the highest scoring teams among all teams. He was the highest scoring out of the non-playoff teams, but in previous years wouldn't have got there. But equally, you've got to win 3 games to from the wild card to win the whole thing. So, and he obviously got knocked out justifiably, I think, against Dave Henderson, was it?
Yes,
in the end? Yeah.
It was on a roll.
Yeah,
that's it. So he would have made it had Pat not. But I think that the highest scoring team still legitimately is a good indicator of how powerful a team is over the course of the year. Yes, we've seen in years gone by there are probably better, more rounded teams towards the end of the year. But actually, points can be everything in this game.
Yeah, for sure. So we also took a look at the kicker scoring, as we did change that last year, just to have a quick check. We're still happy with that one, so we are. So if you recall, a 40 to 49 yard field goal was worth 4 points now, bridging that gap between the 3 to the 5 points for the 50 plus yard field goal. We also have that minus 1 point if a PAT is missed, or if a field goal up to 39 yards is missed as well. So we keep that. That's a fun little niche. So the Hall of Fame, so I alluded to it earlier, so with get your nominations in 29th of July. So we're not going to mandate nominations anymore. It's kind of going to be on a if you want to nominate something basis. And we've also changed it so that the committee will now decide what is inducted into the Hall of Fame instead of a league-wide vote. And the committee, at their discretion, can decide nothing is even worthy for the Hall of Fame. They could also decide that a couple things are worthy for the Hall of Fame. Obviously, this is kind of more, I guess, how the actual Hall of Fame works to a degree.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a select group of people who cast their votes, so to speak. So it'll be interesting to see what comes from that. We obviously still retain the committee induction as well, which is like for non-actual league stuff, like being the commissioner or the podcasting or whatever. That's the change to the Hall of Fame. We've also had to change the fumble scoring. This was a fun one.
I like this. Yeah.
So obviously up till now, fumble scoring is as an offensive player, if you lose a fumble, it's minus 2 points, but that's it. As a defense, if you recover a fumble, it's plus 2. That's it. So we looked at, you can actually split that down into losing or gaining points based on a fumble being forced itself, and then the additional point for the fumble being lost or fumble being recovered. So we've now changed that to, as I said, if you're a runner or receiver or whatever, if the offensive player makes a fumble, it's 1 point for just making that fumble, and then another point lost if the fumble is then lost. And then for the defense, all the way around, a point if you force a fumble, and then a point for reclaiming the fumble.
We like interesting ways of scoring.
Yeah, we do.
That's it. And
It's made the league entertaining.
it has.
Interesting.
That's it, exactly that. So it's not all cut. Not all fumbles are cut and dry.
No.
And you get I get very salty when just a fumble is called a fumble and actually it's been recovered by the offense. That sucks. So in this instance, that's it. How many points were you going to save over the course of the year? It might be a very small amount, but
yeah, I think it would be more impactful for from a defense point of view,
Sure.
because obviously you actually from an offensive point of view you have to have the player that has fumbled the ball. Whereas it could be special teams, or it could be a non-fantasy relevant player that commits that fumble. So from a defensive point of view, I think just having that fumble force thing makes it really interesting. But then, as well from the offensive point of view, it's still -2 if the fumble is lost, but you have that extra -1 if the fumble is committed and then recovered. We did look at it; it wasn't a massive impact for an offensive player. The most impacted position probably would be quarterback.
yes,
Naturally.
yeah.
But again, as we know, quarterback scoring is kind of on steroids in our league, so that was kind of actually a pro of doing it, because it kind of might change the dynamic just a little bit. So there you go, that was that one. Trade deadline, we talked about that, so that's just going to remain at the earliest possible date. There was no real care about what we do with that, so that's what we always do, so we leave it. This is quite a big one. It's a commissioner team changing powers enhanced. So obviously at the moment, it's kind of just limited to, if it's a Thursday night game, and obviously if you're not sure if a player's going to play, you say, could you swap him out if he doesn't play? Sure, why not? Or equally on a Sunday, the same thing. If someone's not going to play, can you take them out and swap them in or whatever? So we do that, but obviously that kind of creates a variance between, if someone on a Sunday has that, dynamic, they've often got a lot of pivots to go to, they can change a different player. But if you've got a Monday night player, where there's obviously no player after that, you can't take the risk. And likewise, if you've got if it's a Thursday thing, say you're not sure your guy is going to play on Sunday, and you might, the player you want to play instead plays on the Thursday, you've got to make that decision there and then. Do you risk it, or do you play it safe and play the Thursday night player, whereas you might actually want to play the other guy? So that's kind of how we are at the moment. So we have now enhanced this. So basically you can stipulate player changes, but obviously with notification to myself and the committee, what you want to do across the entire game weekend. So if you've got a player on the Monday night game who's not sure he's going to play, you can say on the Thursday night, I'm going to play this guy in the Thursday night game, but if the Monday night player plays, I want to play him instead. Yep. It's got to be crystal clear what it is beforehand, everything like that. But it just enables a bit more competitive balance, because you never want a game to be decided by something like that. If a player does play, it's just it's almost like an admin thing at that point, isn't it? Which isn't the spirit of the game. We want everyone to be able to play who they want if they're able to. Exactly that.
It makes the games better. It makes ultimately the competition better. That's what we're all here for, ultimately.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's it. And the product better, because that's what we're here again. That's it, you all play this league because you enjoy the fact that the rules are clear.
Yeah.
And the rules are only skewed towards people scoring more points.
Exactly, which is what we want.
Exactly.
And there was a funny quip about, we have an AGM every year. Can we just leave some stuff this year? Yeah, absolutely we can. We discuss things that kind of come up. But these, as you say, are just kind of ideas that are brought to the table to make it more fun, more interesting, which, I think other than the keeper system, has always been in that direction. There's never been something that we obviously repealed that, but we wanted to give it a go because it sounded fun, and obviously realised it wasn't quite a right fit for what we wanted in our league. But over a number of years now, where we've changed the waiver system, changed the roster formats, tweaked certain scoring things, that does make the league what it is and as fun as it is. So as you say,
massively, and you're dead right in that one as well, because I think the biggest thing that waiver system brought in a few years ago, as well as the Superflex, has made scoring and league accessibility completely different. It makes everybody's life much easier when you don't have to play someone who's
you're not forced
absolutely
into
garbage.
Exactly.
And again, that wouldn't have been come to pass had it not been for this.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
anyone who poo-poos the AGM, I'm not having that. That's it.
It's there for
I'm not having that. That's it. We're all here. We're all here to have more fun and to be more competitive. And the years since that, 2018, 19, 20, but 18 to now have been
Yeah.
Very, very close.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's always been a race for the playoffs. The title game's always been an interesting one. So yeah, it's
scoring week on week isn't really slanted, towards one team or another.
No. Yeah.
You're always in the same sort of ballpark. So yeah, that's it. This is an extremely important part of the year.
Even though it takes away furthest possible time away from any actual action happening. There was also another interesting change. So yeah, you mentioned the waiver system, where obviously we have the waiver budget system now, where we added in previous years that depending on your standings at certain points in the season, you get additional monies. We have now changed again. This is quite a big change, really. I suppose that you can now trade waiver budget as part of another trade. So, so strictly, I guess you could try and make a trade for purely just waiver budget for a player, but you can also trade waiver budget now as part of a deal, which the idea behind this is obviously it's been highlighted with the new Superflex format. The trading is a bit harder because unless it's something like, you were to trade for a quarterback in a skill position, with the skill positions where there's none of that scarcity anymore, or like, someone holding multiple players that they can't play, trading one for a position they need, you don't have that anymore. So it has made trades a little less common, I guess. Just adding this in to be able to kind of make a sweetener or a balance to a trade to hopefully encourage a bit more trade activity and make trading a bit more easier. Yeah. What do you make of?
We want to see more trade. This is definitely a byproduct of the things we bought in the sense that it's probably easy to drop a player and then try and bid for them on the market rather than go directly to another coach. Trading's always been a small part of our game. But
we're not a very trady league, really.
We're not a very trady league at all. And I think that's probably because we're British and we don't really understand necessarily, don't understand trading. The value of players, player for player, isn't something that we're necessarily brought up with in our sporting environment here. Right. But trading does have its part. And we've seen in years gone by where teams have really turned their year around by trading players for others. So to encourage that a bit more would be good, and I think that's something that maybe next year's AGM, or think about the next year or so, if there's anything that we can do to encourage extra trades without ruining what we currently already have.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the only real thing I think that we can improve.
Or
element of the game that we can improve.
Yeah, absolutely.
If for one day we were going to expand it to, if we ever wanted to expand the league or put this league format out there for one reason or another.
It's the gold standard of fantasy, because we have veered far off the tracks. For quite some time we were quite aligned and very much taking the detail.
We're a long way off, but that's not to say that people don't like. No. If you said to someone who wanted to play American Football Fantasy League, this is how we do it. This is probably the most successful way of you can do it. And it's still really fun.
And it makes the most sense because, talking about the format, the way the format is the way it is, because in theory you could have an actual NFL formation with the players you have. Yes. You've got that quarterback and the 5 skill positions that you can do anything with. It just makes a lot more sense, like you say, in terms of that way. So and compared to something like having a 2 QB league, or being forced into playing 2 tight ends and the flags and
I hate having been forced into playing a tight end, because that was always the bugbear, was that those who didn't have a tight end were always one player down effectively. Yeah. You could never really make up that difference. So which obviously now that we don't have. Yeah. So yeah, but back to the initial point of trading, I suppose, in the sense that it would be good if there was maybe, it's just me completely thinking out loud. Those that trade between each other, there's some sort of reward for trading.
Oh, okay, like a
trading bonus.
Like a trade, like what, you got bonus waiver or something?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, that's it.
Interesting.
Just thinking about that. I don't know.
For the 23.
Yeah, exactly that. That's it. I didn't think about that this year, but now I come to think about it.
I mean, we did discuss as part of this as well, talking about actually separately trading draft picks, because obviously that's something we used to have when we had the good pick. But where at the moment it is a clean, you have one season, it ends, there's no carryover or anything between season to season, that would obviously change that dynamic. So completely understandable, there wasn't appetite for that, but obviously worth mentioning just as because it would no doubt result in more trade action, because it creates the element that you could have, a team who's not doing so well to trade a player away at the end of the season and, ready themselves up for the next year, but obviously that's not necessarily what we want. So, and then just going back to the waiver bit then, so obviously that does change the dynamic with trading. It's basically where there is a trade that does involve waiver budget or is purely waiver budget for a player, obviously the committee are going to have to be more scrutinous to make sure that that's okay. At the moment, we're obviously quite laissez-faire. We don't step in on trades even if we think it's poor value for one or the other, unless it's completely
ridiculous.
Unless it's completely ridiculous. Waiver budget probably, I think we talked about it, probably won't change that too much because it's all so subjective. But obviously we will just have to be mindful of that, of when those trades do come in. And then the only other thing we had then was elections. So all of the current committee remained the current committee. So that was that. And then that was the AGM. What did you make of it?
Well, the AGM it wasn't the most like, it was exciting. Nothing groundbreaking happened this year. No. But as I say, I am a big fan of the AGM because it's important. It's where things are an open forum, people can discuss things freely, and you never know what might happen. And I say all these extra things that I think have really improved the league in the last 3 or 4 years, have all come from that single event. Yeah. So long may it continue.
Absolutely.
I've just noticed there's a 2021 draft order there as well.
That's from. I just copied the document over,
which is good because we can also see.
Good point. So I'll tell you what, if I copy this into my little notepad file there, and then we can look at it.
Because I've just noticed that Tom's gone from being drafted 12th last year to 1st this year, so he's gone fully top to bottom. And oh my god, look! And Dave's gone from 11th to 2nd.
So we've
like
got
10 minutes ahead.
Viv is near the back again, so so Dave Hedge is in the exact same spot as last year.
That's it. There you go. Nice and easy.
You've obviously moved back a few spaces, but could obviously ultimately move if you decided to. Ollie Burdett, he's jumped up, hasn't he? This year he was third. He was about mid last year. Yep. Ben and Bang in the. He was 6th last year, was it? Yeah, but he obviously used the Northwani rule to move up to. Where did he move up to?
I moved up.
Sorry, you moved up. You moved up to 2nd. That's right. It wasn't Ben. Ben was in 6th. Then I was in 5th last year, so I've slid back a little bit, but mostly mid-table. Mike's jumped up from 10th to 5th there. Ollie Gardner-Beddoes again about the same, 3rd to 4th this year. Ross has slid back into the mid-pack. He was 2nd last year, and then Pat. He was 1st last year. Has dropped back to 8th. So some change, some things the same.
Very big sea change. Yeah, sit for the 2 down the bottom to the 2 down the top this year. Yeah, you just can't write it sometimes at this league.
No, that's why we love the game. It won't be long until it's back. So 20th of August. Do not forget that's the division lining draft day. The season obviously starts early September. I think that's probably it for us today. We'll obviously be back with some more episodes across the pre-season. We'll probably take like we obviously did the Coronavirus recap today, but probably do a bit more of a recap on the 2021 season. We also like looking back at the draft of last year to see how hilarious that was. And then we've obviously got some other bits. Maybe do the mock draft show, which we usually will be an early one this year because obviously we typically draft in September on the weekend before the season starts, but we're going to be a few weeks ahead of that one, so that's another interesting change.
Massively, yeah. Like it.
So thank you for watching. We've had a couple of viewers as we go on. Thank you for joining, Chris, and suffering in the sweatbox of this room, having the door shut.
It's lovely to be back.
It's good with us. So have a good rest of your weekend, listeners, and we'll see you again soon.